Hey, Stone Cousins. You already know what time it is. Me. Animated horror stories. Animated horror stories. Doom, doom, doom. Boom, boom, boom. Ding, 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 ding. You see where we at. We're at our cousin SSG house. SSG Animations. What are we watching? Three True Pizza Delivery horror stories animated. You know we love those because they be cutting up. The last time a girl snatched a man up in the house and tried to kidnap him because she wanted to hump him. It was based on a true story who killed her. About a woman who killed her man who was a pizza delivery driver and she was snatching up pizza delivery men because she just wanted to have sex one more time with some men. Like it was crazy. So we truly do enjoy these. As always, please go over there, subscribe to the channel, come back, and then just like the video. But let's get up into it, y'all. Please go grab a blunt, grab a bottle of water, grab a bag of chips, and grab a blanket so you can, be snug. And let's get up in here. Mm-mm. When the full picture come in and you see that there was a little boy down there.
Hey, my name is Gene.
Okay.
Like most of you, I love pizza. There's nothing better to eat on a Saturday than a huge pizza, right? Well, now I'll tell you something we certainly do not have in common. I never order pizza delivery. I always go to pick it up because since that rainy day, I don't want anything to do with pizza delivery guys.
What happened?
That day, it was a normal day. Don't confuse me. I was looking forward to Saturday. Those days I stayed home watching horror movies and started pizza. But then again, that's what I did every Saturday. I have a lot of friends, but after a week of studying and working, I usually want to relax. That rainy day, I did the same thing I always do. I ordered pizza and prepared a horror movie. I was waiting for the pizza to arrive, but to my surprise, a few minutes after I ordered it, the delivery guy was already at my door. When I went to open the door, I had a very bad feeling. There was something wrong with the pizza delivery guy. His eyes were focused on me. He was staring at me in a very nervous way. The man was breathing very heavily and wasn't even looking to protect himself from the rain. He was just standing under it, staring at me. Before I opened the door, I asked the man to wait for a moment as I had forgotten my keys. He didn't answer me. He just stared at me in a frightening way,
You about to leave him
smiling
at
a
your door?
big smile. Once I entered my house, I quickly called the pizzeria and asked him if my order had gone out. If this was one of his delivery men. I was shocked by their response. The girl at the pizzeria said no. She told me that they are running late. She told me that they are running late because of the rain and they didn't even start making it. Before I could answer her, the phone was cut off along with the power. I was totally in the dark. I looked out quickly to see if the man was still in the rain waiting for me, but no, there was no one outside. There was no one outside. I went to look for my cell phone, but it was totally out of charge. I always had this terrible habit of letting the battery run out and just charging it at that moment. But this time, I would really pay the consequences of that. I went to the kitchen and looked for a knife to defend myself. Was I being paranoid? Was it all just a huge coincidence? No, it couldn't be. The man tried to deliver a pizza that wasn't meant for me. He knew I had ordered it, but still, it could be a joke. Surely the light would be back soon.
It could be a joke. Let's put this down.
As if to answer my question, I heard glass breaking and ran into the dining room. The window was open. Someone had smashed it with a rock and used his hand to open it. In the darkness, I could see parts of my dining room wet. Someone came in from outside. I was not alone. I thought about going outside and running out into the rain. But what if it was a trap? What if that scary person was waiting for me outside? I began to ask myself what I should do, and I paid for that doubt dearly.
Oh!
A man came out of the darkness and started choking me.
Oh! I would have died.
Why was he doing this to me? I had no problems with anyone. I had never made any enemies, nor was I conspicuous enough to be attacked. I struggled to free myself and managed to push the man away, who only took a step back, with a big smile on his face. At that moment, I realized that the man wasn't squeezing too hard. I don't think I got free on my own.
Oh,
He let me
he's
go.
playing cat and mouse.
I ran desperately towards the broken window, but before I got there, I fell
Got
backward.
you slipped on
The
your
man
own?
behind me was not the only pizza delivery man. There were about 5 more coming through the window. The men grabbed me and dragged me to the center of the dining room. The light
What are they
illuminated them
doing?
enough that they could see me perfectly. I was surrounded. I had no way out of this. Synchronistically, everyone opened their pizza boxes and pulled out markers from inside. As if they had done it before, they began to draw symbols on my body
Oh
in
no.
a perfectly synchronized manner. My body started to burn a lot, not because their strange ritual was working, but because they were passing the markers with such force and violence that it felt like it was burning my whole body.
Mm-mm.
The pain became more and more intense, until from one second to the next, I stopped feeling it. I began to lose consciousness and fade away at the mercy of these terrifying men, knowing that I might never wake up again.
Oh no.
But to my
No, thank
surprise, I did. When I opened my eyes, there was a pizza delivery man in front of me. But he wasn't evil. He was Wally. The pizza delivery guy I had originally ordered was standing in front of me, soaking wet and calling the police. Once the police arrived, there was no sign of the men. Although I had no ring door camera, many neighbors filmed these people, but the police could never find them. From that day on, I never felt alone again. I feel watched at all times, and sometimes I know I am. Sometimes I see people spying on me in the street. They don't
No
even try to hide that they
way.
see me. They just do it.
You just be letting
Unfortunately,
people spy on
this
you?
is not the worst of my worries. Since that day, I feel that something else is stalking me.
a
A
damn
presence
demon.
that appears in my house when I am in the dark.
Oh no.
Something that takes more and more shape and is getting closer and closer to catching me. I try not to think about it, to always be with people
You said
and
these
never
were
be in the
pizza
dark.
men?
But every time someone wants to order pizza, I remember that horrible rainy night and I tell them no. We can order pizza, but I'll be the one to go get it.
That's a lot. I ain't gotta deal with that every time. Like, nah.
Hi, I'm Jordan Boatman. I'm a nurse and a part-time pizza delivery boy. As I'm studying medicine, working in a hospital as a nurse and also delivering pizzas at night, I barely get time to do anything else. My job as a nurse is to gain experience, whereas my job delivering pizzas for 24/7 Pizza House is to earn money.
Okay.
I have to pay my student debt and also continue studying medicine. I mostly work from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., which means I'm all night driving around town delivering pizzas. Now, it's surprising how many people order pizzas at odd times. In a nutshell, it's too many. And if you work at the only 24/7 restaurant in town, it means you work a lot at night.
Exactly. That's
It's
what
mostly
24 hours.
partying teenagers, people who do remote jobs for foreign companies, or sometimes people craving a midnight snack, or should I say a meal. However, whenever I have a rough day at my college or in the hospital, I prefer to operate the phone and the order app instead of driving around town delivering pizzas. I've been working in this restaurant for over 2 years, so it's safe to say I can do everything here, right from delivering pizzas to making them. Recently, we hired a new kid. He must be, 18 or 19 years old. He's new in town and drives pretty well, so we decided to let him do the night deliveries. He insisted he would be okay with driving around in order to get to know the town.
But
For the last 2 months, he's done a great job.
Okay.
Not a single complaint. No late deliveries, just happy customers. He'd quickly become everyone's favorite. Mine personally, as he more often than not let me study at the counter and did my deliveries for me. However, a week ago, everything changed. That night, as I was on the counter picking up the phone and checking the apps for orders, the phone rang. "Hello, SSG Pizza Palace. What's your order?" I said. "Hi, I'm Stacy, and I'd like to order a large pepperoni pizza, a regular cheese pizza, and garlic bread and mustard dip on the side." "Sure. Your delivery will be there in 30 minutes. If it's late, it's on the house. Would you please give the address where the food is to be delivered? Yeah, house number 87, near the post office, on 4th Street. When I heard her say 4th Street, I was a bit worried, but quickly concealed my discomfort and replied, "Thanks, your order will reach you shortly," and hung up the phone. I forwarded the order to the kitchen and decided to deliver this order myself. It was clear that there was no point in letting Luke, the new boy, deliver this order. Although I had a few assignments pending and was exhausted after my shift in the hospital, the order was ready in about 10 minutes. "Hey, is the order ready?" Luke asked. "Yeah, it is, but I'm taking this one. You can wait for the next one." "Why? Do they tip well?" Luke asked me playfully. "No, it's not about the tip. Let's just say you'd rather not go in that part of town at night. Or ever." "Oh, why is that?"
Are they racist?
"Do they sell drugs there?" Luke said, almost hopeful, but I wasn't going to tell him the real reason. "No, they don't sell drugs there." "Oh, then why shouldn't I go? Let me deliver this order. You have a ton of homework anyways." I mean, he was correct, but still, it was too risky to let the new kid do this. "No,
Don't you do it.
I'm taking this order. A few minutes of delay won't set me back on my studies." "But you have an assignment due tomorrow, and I'll deliver this order. Don't worry."
No.
After that, Luke kept begging and whining for a while, so I finally let him take the order, but
You ain't
on one
shit.
condition. "Luke, you have to promise me that you will drive straight to the address and back. At no point will you get out of the car. No matter what happens, you will not get out of the car." He looked at me as I was stressed
You
about
see,
this
this
delivery,
is why
and
that's
I
mad
instructed him about the
instructions,
route.
Brody. You just gotta
Luke
let him
sensed
go.
that there was something I wasn't telling him. "Why are you so worried about this? Is there something I should know?" I know I should have told him, but I didn't.
Why?
I didn't want to scare him. Moreover, he had to be ready to deliver anywhere in the city when I became a full-time medical professional. "No, there's nothing you should know. Just be careful and remember my instructions." "Sure."
He's gonna
Okay.
get out the car and he ain't never
Bye.
gonna return and it's gonna be
With
your
that,
fault.
Luke drove away. I returned to my counter and continued working on my assignment, with one eye on the app screen to check for new orders. Around 20 minutes later, the phone rang. "Hello, SSG Pizza Palace. What's your order?" I said, as usual. "Hi. Hey, it's Stacy. I'm calling from house number 87, 4th Street. Why's my order not here yet?" "Wait, what do you mean? The delivery guy left almost 20 minutes ago. He should have delivered your order and returned by now." "Well, I haven't received my order yet." Now I was worried, almost panicked.
Yep.
I knew something was
'Cause it's
terribly
your
wrong.
fault. Because you
but
told out
I
you
was
should
still
have just let
hoping that
him.
maybe there was a rational explanation as to why he was late.
It's not.
I picked up my
You
own
know that
cell
man
phone
don't
and
be
dialed his
late.
number. It rang a few times and then went straight to voicemail. That's when I knew for sure something was wrong, as the kid always picked up his calls.
Whoever
I ran
got
towards
him,
my
got
car,
him.
got in, and drove towards 4th Street. As I was driving, I was constantly looking everywhere on the way to see if I could spot Luke's car, but I found nothing. Until I reached the place I most dreaded. I didn't want Luke to be here, and definitely not at 2 in the morning. But as I pulled my car on the crossroad, I saw Luke's car, parked beside the phone booth. I knew it was foolish of me to get out of the car at that spot, but I was hell-bent on saving Luke. As I got near the phone booth, I saw a figure leaning against the blur and stained glass of the phone booth, and I instantly knew what or who it was. I opened the glass door, and Luke fell into my arms. He was struggling to breathe and drenched from head to toe. He couldn't talk, but he looked at me as if I just saved him from an extremely painful death.
You did.
I immediately called 911, and within minutes, there were paramedics there to take him to a
Why
hospital.
would you let him go?
Later, I delivered the order that was still somehow warm in his car. I knew what had happened to him, and I blame myself for putting him in that situation.
As you should.
The next day, I visited him in the hospital, and he was in critical condition.
Someone busted
His
his
family
head?
was there in the lobby when I met him. His mom thanked me for saving his life, but little did she know, I was the one who put him in that condition.
And she did. And
The
they
doctors predicted
put him in
that
that
he was in that
condition,
condition
good
because
thing
his
you saved
lungs were full of water and he was drowning from the inside out. No one knew how so much water got into his lungs. and he didn't have any lung diseases. But I knew exactly what had happened there, as
Can
a long
you
time ago,
explain it to us?
the same thing had happened to me too.
Shit.
You see, a long time ago this town wasn't too big, and there was a small lake where 4th Street is now.
Okay.
And in order to expand the town, the government and the mayor had forcefully evacuated people living there. But some people who refused to give up their lands and their houses were tied by the cruel mayor and drowned in the lake.
Oh, God.
As revenge, it's believed that the spirits of those people haunt that area. I myself never believed in this story. Until one night, I was 17 and driving home from the library at around 3 a.m. Although there was hardly any cars on the road at that time, I stopped my car at the red light on the same crossroad. While I was waiting for the light to turn green, I saw the phone booth. And as soon as my eyes landed on the old green booth, the phone inside started ringing.
Why would you get out and
It was
answer
odd
a
at
damn
first because
phone?
no one calls a random phone booth, and secondly, not at 3 in the morning. So I decided to get out and pick up the phone.
That's your own
As soon as I entered the booth, I picked up the phone. There was static coming from the other end of the line.
Them damn
Hello?
demons.
Who is it? I spoke into the line, but no reply. I
Yoked your
figured
ass
someone
up,
must be
sir.
joking,
He's
so
frowning you.
I hung up the phone and pushed the door to get out of the booth. However, the door wouldn't budge. I tried to push it open, but nothing. I was stuck in the booth. I tried to break the glass, but it seemed bulletproof. I banged on the door, but at that time it was highly unlikely someone would pass by me to even notice I was stuck. Nevertheless, I kept on trying. Suddenly my lungs started to fill up, and it was like I was drowning. I gasped for air, and it felt like I was drowning in a lake. That's when someone yanked the door open, and I collapsed into that person's arms. To this day, I have no clue who it was, but all I knew was that the next day I was in my bed. I had not suffered as severely as Luke, but I know the dread that fills you when you feel your lungs filling with water. I researched what
You
this
ain't even
was.
in no motherfucking water.
The next day in the library, I found an urban legend about the town. It said that phone booth was a portal used by the spirits of the people killed by the mayor to communicate with the living.
'Cause why would
And they want to punish the people living in this town.
I would?
The phone rings at random hours, mostly at night, and when someone enters the booth to pick up the phone, that person's lungs fill with water, and he drowns from the inside out. The same way those people died. Although I never shared this with anyone to date, but throughout the years, multiple people have died in the same booth and in the same way.
So why were you looking
I
around?
don't know
other
whether
places? Why
Luke
ain't
will
you just
survive or
out there?
not, but I hope he does. Please, pray for him.
No, that's your fault. You pray for him. Give up your prayer.
Pizza
for
delivery horror story. Do you know what it's like to live in a family of people who love pizza? Well, if you don't, let me tell you,
You
they eat a
look
lot of
crazy.
pizzas. And because of that, when I got a chance to work at a pizza place during my summer in high school, my whole family was happy. Usually, once my shift ended at around 11 or 12 in the night, I used to carry some leftover pizza home for my family. Sometimes I used to work in the kitchen, and on other days I used to deliver pizzas. I love doing both. Making delicious pizzas and then being able to hand over the order to the waiting hungry customers. What could be better?
Right?
I live in a small town, which means I know most of the people living here. The people who order pizza from our place are the locals whom I probably already know. So it's always a pleasure to see a familiar face when delivering the pizzas. Once my shift is over, I take a bus home, as I don't own a car, and it's nice to just sit quietly after my shift. The bus service has been going on in our town since the early 1980s. The driver is the same person, Mr. Anderson. He's almost 60 years old, and he's been the driver of the bus
Mr.
since
Anderson.
it started. Although at night there are hardly any passengers on the bus other than me, Mr. Anderson still stops the bus at every bus stop on the route. Many times there is no one getting down or getting on the bus at several stops. Still, instead of driving right past those stops, Mr. Anderson makes it a point to stop at every bus stop on the route. The thing about this bus route, though, is that there are a lot of cemeteries on the way, and most of the stops are in front of these cemeteries. I admit, as a 19-year-old man, I'm a bit scared when the bus stops in front of a dark old cemetery. Mostly you just see trees and the headstones of the graves. But hiding behind all that is a darkness that you feel within you. It was always creepy when Mr. Anderson stopped the bus for no one on each and every one of those bus stops. Initially, I always sat alone, but a few months ago, a young guy around my age started getting on the bus too. He got in a few stops after mine, and although before it was awkward, we soon became good friends. Given that most of the time we were the only two passengers on the bus, it was easy. I learned that his name was Neil. He studied engineering at Caltech and was back in town due to summer vacation. He was working at the local library, and his shift ended around mine too. Every day, he used to get on the bus in front of one of the cemeteries, which was closest to the library, and sit on the seat opposite of mine. We used to talk till my stop arrived. "So, how was work?" Neil asked me that day. "You know, same old. What about you?" "The library is usually slow after sunset. Only students come in." "That must be nice, having less work to do." "I'd rather work at the pizza place, for all the free pizza I can get." "Anyways, why are you carrying these big boxes?" "Today my parents and siblings wanted to throw a pizza party at our house, so they decided to just call my pizza place and place the order for a bunch of pizzas. And as I go home, I'm also delivering the pizzas to them." After hearing my story, Neil laughed out loud. "Man, crazy. Your folks are hilarious. They're making you work even as you come home. Also, you must be the first pizza delivery boy delivering pizzas by bus." It was indeed funny that I was delivering pizzas to my own home, and that too, it was by bus. That's when the bus stopped at another stop and an old man got into the bus. He had a walking stick in his hand and sat way ahead of us on a seat closer to the driver. He didn't punch a ticket, which was weird. He just sat there, still as a rock. What's an old guy doing on the bus so late? Neil whispered to me what I was thinking. I don't know. I've never seen him on the bus before. Maybe he wants to go somewhere
dead, or is that old man dead?
It's possible. I confirmed, and we both just sat there whispering about the old man. Suddenly, Neil asked me, "Hey, do you know why this bus stops at every stop even though there are no passengers?" This was a question that plagued me since the day I started riding on this night bus. "No, I don't know. Do you know the reason?" "Yeah, I actually do. You see, in the early 1980s, when the bus service was started, there was a plague in this town and a few neighboring towns too. Many people died due to this disease, and all of them were buried in these cemeteries. It's believed that this night bus is not only used by the living, but also by the dead, lying in these cemeteries." Instantly, we both looked at the old man sitting in front of us on the bus. While Neil was telling me the story, we had passed a few stops, and as usual, no one had got on the bus, even though Mr. Anderson had stopped the bus at every stop. The old man was no longer on the bus. It was just us and the driver. This scared me so much that I barely managed to go home with my pizzas. For the next week or so, I didn't go to work in order to avoid the bus ride home at night. Even though I missed Neil, it was just too terrifying. Encountering the spirit of the old man on the bus was scary as shit. But duty calls, and I had a job to get back to. That night when my shift ended, I was dreading to get on the bus. But when I got on the bus, and I sat in the same spot waiting for Neil to get on the bus too, so that I could have some company. But he never did. Instead, the old man I had seen a week before got on the bus and sat on the same seat. Too close to the driver, I literally froze. I thought I was seeing the same spirit again, and that it had followed me somehow. However, this time, I couldn't take my eyes away from this man.
What happened to
A few
Neil?
stops later, he got up and prepared to get down from the bus and wished Mr. Anderson good night. But before the bus stopped, the old man turned and looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Who were you talking to the other day? You were whispering the whole time."
Boy, what did I say?
This threw me off
What did I
balance.
say?
and
Neil's
That's
the
when I
dead
realized
one.
that the old man wasn't a spirit.
Neil
But
was.
Neil was.
Uh-huh.
This scared me even more.
I knew it.
But this time, instead of being a coward and skipping work, I went to the library Neil worked at and asked about him. The librarian told me that Neil Gunderson worked here for a few weeks but died due to a car accident and was buried in the cemetery a few weeks ago.
Poor thing.
When I did the math in my head, I realized that it was at the same time that he started taking the bus with me.
Aww,
That means
why
that
you
all
stop
along,
taking it?
Neil was a spirit who was using the bus service to get to his destination too.
That was a good one. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed these three. They were all good. It's so funny because our good cousin SSG, he always throw in that animation style, and I'd be like, like I don't think I'm about to enjoy this because sometimes it'd be crazy, and I only feel like that because the very first time that we seen it, he had a man shit on a woman. I'll tag it at the end, so that's why I'd be like, but that one was really good actually. It had Gru talking to a damn spirit, and then y'all over there at Kiki King talking shit about an old man. Leave that old man alone. Leave him over there minding his business. And he get back on the bus and was like, "What was you doing the other day? Talking to yourself." And I said it from the very beginning. I said that man was dead. But then they started chatting at Kiki and they started talking shit about the old man, and I was like, well, maybe he is alive. But y'all know I love a good twist. Let me know your feelings in the comments. And until next time, I love you guys. Goodbye.